And we're good to go.
Hey! Technology, right? Right.
So, good evening, everyone. Now that we've got the technical difficulties out of the way, I'm Dr. Rusty Barrier. This is Dr. Tricia Seymour. Welcome to Intellikia. What are we talking about tonight?
I think we had that conversation. Let's see. They did this to me, taking back your power. So last week was our very first one, and we're going to do a little centering here in a minute, but we talked a little bit about just the levels of consciousness and where we are in the evolution and where we're headed. And so tonight we're just going to do some important things, and that is, how do we bring back our power to today? How do we've left it places, and how do we feel stronger in who we are?
Okay. What is this little meditation we're doing?
That you're doing? The one you're doing.
Okay. All right. So this is just about getting centered, dropping your day behind you now so you can be fully here, fully present now. So just put your feet on the floor. I don't care if they're crossed or not, doesn't really matter. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And again. Just feel your day dropping away, letting it drop. And breathe. And in your mind's eye, I want you to look at your own body and see if there are cords or tentacles extending from your body. If there are, as you take another deep breath, just allow them to drop, relaxing in front, beside, and behind you, wherever they may be. And let them drop. Which means they're no longer connected. With the next breath, see those tentacles just beginning to retract back into your body. Some may move quickly, some may move slowly, just bringing them all back into yourself so that there's no other energies than your own flowing inside you. Deep breath. Relax. Know that in this space you are perfectly safe. All is well. All is as it is, as it should be, as it will be. All is one. Now allow yourself to start to come fully back here now. As I count from 5 to 1, you'll open your eyes and be fully present. 5, 4, 3, you're coming back now. 2, almost here. And 1, open your eyes. Look around, wiggle your fingers and toes. Now that we're all present, and all that other crap is gone, let's talk about all the ways that we have given our power away over our lifetime, or in some cases, lifetimes. Right? Now, the first thing I want you to understand, though, and many of you haven't heard from us before, a lot of you have, but we are non-dualists. Okay? We believe that oneness is all there is, and anything outside of that is really pretty much an illusion. So with that being said, please understand, no one can take your power from you, because there is no one else. We're all one being, we just happen to be different facets of that being, or appear to be different facets anyway.
And as we shared last week, which I'll just mention again this week, this class is basically for people who have been in metaphysics and have gotten some of the basics and understand that, but they want to know what's next, what's beyond, what is, what's different now as we're all evolving and we're shifting and we're remembering. Sometimes what used to work doesn't work anymore. And so now with the energies and as we're all continuing to grow, what's next? And so again, I think in the past, we've seen it as dualistic. We've seen us and them. We've seen, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. That's dualism. That's
even
two.
the right and the left.
And we refer to this just as an analogy as a video game. And if you think of it as a video game, as you move up the levels of the video game, some of the rules change, right? And so what you used to be able to do on the first level, now it's more difficult because you're now on level 20 or 30 or 100, and the rules aren't the same. And so what used to work doesn't work anymore. And we found through our own life experiences, as you're on the spiritual path for a while, that happens. And so you may know how to do something from a level 1, 2, 3, 10, whatever, but as you move up the levels of the video game, you're doing what you used to do and you're not seeing the results anymore. And so how do you bring that together? And so the way that we, again, as Rusty said, we're non-dualists, is that we see that the entire video game is inside of a bubble, and we are playing all the parts. And we're at all the levels, and we're trying to see how it all works together as a whole. So rather than the individual pieces, what's the picture of the whole? And if you get the picture of the whole, then the individual pieces make more sense. So you were saying that with taking back your energy, when you're at different levels, you believe somebody stole it from you. You say, they stole my energy. They're an energy drainer.
Energy vampires.
They took that from me, or they did that to me. I mean, there becomes again an us and a them. And
what it really means when you hold the belief that someone can take your energy, or that you have given your energy over to someone even, it puts you in a victim role. And I'm going to say this loud and clear: there are no victims. There's only participants. Right? You may not like that sometimes when you think you're the one who was victimized, but it's still the truth. The victimization, much like suffering, occurs here. Otherwise, without judgment, it's just something that happened. Right? So when we give our energy away, and we've all done it. This is not a negative thing. Every single one of us have done it to survive. Right? When we were, infant, right? All of our needs had to be met by someone other than us, didn't they? So we gave a lot of that power to mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever it might have been that was there to help raise us. Right? They gave us belief systems that, in essence, we didn't have our own power to make or create that belief system. So part of claiming your power back is doing what a lot of people call shadow work. And that is, in truth, going in and looking at the belief systems that you hold. This is far more than we can do tonight, by the way. But you look at those belief systems. Have I even assigned my power to God? Have I assigned it to a parent, to a lover, to a spouse? Where have I given my power? What is it about me that I don't trust, that I think they should have it, not me? Those are all questions that will come up as you begin this path of reclaiming your power, reclaiming yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes we give our power away to the past. We get stuck in past things that happen to us, past events, past experiences, or we give our power away to the future. Someday I will, someday I'll have, someday I'll get. And
If only,
right, and we focus on the future. So I want you just in your mind, another kind of analogy, is I want you to think about every morning when you wake up, somebody hands you $100. Every single morning, that'd be great, right? Somebody hands you $100. But imagine it's $100 of energy. And from the moment you wake up in the morning, where does your energy attention go?
What are you spending it on?
Right, so your energy attention, some of it goes to your past. Boy, I wish they didn't do that, or man, I wish that hadn't happened. We focus on our past things. Some of it goes to the future. Boy, I wish I could, I wish I had, I wish I want, and we go to the future. And what you find is you're exhausted throughout the day. It's hard to make it through the day because you have no energy left. You've given your energy away to the past or the future instead of keeping it present. And what we're talking about is how do you bring that energy from all those places, from your parents, from the ex, from somebody who harmed you, to somebody that you wish
The person
you
you
could be
want
with.
to be your next ex.
Yeah, right. How do you take all that energy and bring it present and be fully present with your energy so that when you wake up in the morning, you have $100 worth of energy and you have it for the whole day. You use it as you go each hour during the day so that you're not totally exhausted in the middle of the day or by the end of the day. You've wisely used your energy. So something that you mentioned that I think is important to even say again is nobody steals your energy. You are sovereign. If you believe somebody has taken your energy, it's because you have allowed them to. You have given it to them in essence. You've taken that part of that $100 and said, oh, I'm mad at you, you're my ex. I hold a grudge, right? And so I think about you and I hold a grudge, and every time your name comes up I get upset, I hold a grudge. That's some of that energy that I have now just handed you, right? So rather than, so my point is just to focus on the fact that what we're talking about tonight is how do you be sovereign? How do you be within yourself, strong within yourself, and make conscious decisions where you want to put your energy rather than just letting it seep out and be handed to everybody that walks by. The person who drove in traffic and cut you off in traffic. And your energy goes there, and the rest of the day is a bad day because you're thinking about the guy that cut you off in traffic, right? That's an energy drain. But the guy who cut you off in traffic probably doesn't even know he did it, and if he did, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's not upset.
Your energy is what's being drained, not his. Holding grudges, being upset, all of those kind of things. Just drain your energy, but you have the opportunity to pull it back and be sovereign in yourself and make more conscious choices by being present where your energy goes every day.
And one of the ways, and all of you have heard this before, but you're going to hear it from us again, one of the better ways to begin becoming aware of the thoughts that are giving your energy away for you, they're your thoughts, right, is meditation. Okay, taking that time to be quiet every day. It does not mean you have to do for 45 minutes at a time.
But you can if you want to.
You can if you want to. But it does mean at some point you just need to take a few deep breaths, calm yourself down, spend 5 to 10 minutes sitting. What are the thoughts that are crossing the screen of your mind? Right. For me, I meditate every morning. This is how I start my day. And what I watch is it shifts. Right now, because it's soon to be tax season, as I'm meditating, what I see is, oh, have I got everything to the CPA? Oh, do I need to find this? So there's thoughts about that. But that's just a thought. If I dive into it, I can get really anxious about that. It is the IRS we're talking about here, right? Right? But if I just realize, oh, those are the thoughts, these are the things that I'm dealing with, let it go. Other thoughts that will come up are thoughts about what you need to do for your day. Some thoughts may come up about what are my goals. Thoughts, just watch the thoughts.
But not attached to them.
But not attached to them.
Right.
Don't let them flow. But they will give you your clue to where your power is going, where you're spending that $100 energy every day. Okay, what are your thoughts? Where are they leading you? Where are they repetitive? Where are they circular? And by circular, I don't mean just circular logic. I really mean that your thoughts just revolve around ruminating is really what that is. And you just don't break it out. Right? Watch the thought, let it go, move it on.
Yeah, meditation is a great practice to have to help you, again, reclaim your energy.
The other thing about meditation is, I said, you don't have to do this. Literally, your meditation can be while you're, in this case, walking down the hall to the restroom in this building, where you just become fully present and aware of what's going on, and you're just walking the hall, watching your thoughts, right? Do not do it driving. Okay, I will say that loud and clear. Do not try this while you're driving, please. You have to be present on the roads these days. There's enough distraction out there as it is. But you can do it walking. You can do it sitting at your desk. You can see looking at your computer and just kind of let your eyes go soft. Take a few breaths. Go inside. Watch your thoughts for 5 to 10 minutes, and you will come back. You'll find that a lot of the money, that $100 that you've already spent, comes right back again, because you took the time to bring your thoughts back again.
One of the things that, again, in the levels of metaphysics that you may have been taught, which we're going to teach you something a little bit different as I said, as we evolve and things change, is that you learned to cut cords. Any of you ever learn or hear about cutting cords?
I do.
Some of you, yeah. So cord cutting is one of the things that you can do. What happens sometimes, though, for people, and especially as you continue to evolve, is that it becomes almost
Aggressive.
a harsh thing. Because remember, we're non-dualists, so we believe that you're me and I'm you. And you're me and I'm you. And you're me and I'm you. And the guy that cut me off in traffic is also me. I'm playing all these roles in the game. All right? And so one of the things that people find is sometimes when they cut the cords, it actually is, I'm not going to say painful as in it hurts, but energetically it's not a loving thing to do.
It creates a snap back.
And so what takes place sometimes is that person that you cut the cord with comes at you or comes back, or the thoughts keep coming back because they want to reattach, or they want to do it becomes more of a fight. And I've seen that happen. That doesn't always happen, but I have seen that happen. So the visualization that Rusty did already for you, and we're going to do it again here in a minute with a little more intention, of dropping the cords. So cutting cords makes the assumption that they're sucking the energy from you, right? That they went like this and they got their cord attached to you and they're sucking off of you all your energy. So again, we come at it from a different point of view. And our point of view is you had to allow that to happen. There had to be some mutual benefit for that to take place. So that's when he was saying the shadow work, which we're not going into in detail, but that's looking at yourself and accepting even the darker parts of you, the ability that you have to be a not nice person. We all have that ability. Every one of us. We'd like to think we're love and light, but we all have the ability to be mean.
We're whole.
Right.
That's the main thing. You cannot be 100% love and light. You cannot really be 100% dark walking around in a body right now. You have to be a balance of both. All right? And it's very important. And this is something that is beginning to be taught out there a little bit more, is about the balance and being able to stay in balance and accepting all of who you are. Matter of fact, for me, what's come through in my meditations most clearly lately is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance. Accept everything as it is. Let the judgments your mind creates about it go. And as you do that, you're really bringing those tentacles or cords back home and saying, I'm now connected to source. I need no other energy out here. I need give away no other energy. Now, I may still choose. Obviously, we're both healers. There's a lot of healers in this room. We may choose to open ourselves up as a conduit for source energy to flow to someone that is asking for healing. That's not giving your power away. That's not giving your power at all. That's letting source use you as a conduit.
So what we'll challenge you to do, and try it when you're at home as well, if you find yourself thinking about old past hurts, or somebody who did you wrong, or somebody who seemed like they're attached to you, just realize this is where that shadow comes. You have to own that part of that is you, okay? And that your tentacles also then need to drop. And it's a visualization that you can do when you meditate, and instead of cutting and going, go away, you go, I love you, I accept who you are, and I need my energy back. And you just go like this, and you drop those tentacles down. And you just drop them from the past and the future, you drop them from people and events, and you drop them back to you. And then as he gave in the visualization, you can leave them here if that's comfortable. You can pull them back into your energy and be more sovereign, whole, self-sufficient in your energy. The more you do that, and at first it's a practice, you have to practice doing it. The more you do that, because it's very easy to go, ooh, I'm mad at you. I'm going to give you energy now. I'm going to take, and you get attached to them because you get mad at them. And you have to go, that's me doing it. You didn't do anything. I accept who you are. I don't need to send my energy to you or back and forth. I can just relax, pull it back in, and be within my own energy. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Shake your heads? Yes. Okay.
About half the time.
About half the time? Good.
Stomp your foot.
So again, so pulling your energy back, knowing that you're the one, you had to have some reason why you allowed that connection to happen. You don't have to know all the ins and outs or whys. Just know that they can't do it to you. You are God and Goddess. You are Source. That is who you are. That is the essence. People call it soul, whatever they want to call it, higher power. That is who you are. You're Source. And so as Source, you have the ability to go, I'm going to pull my energy here, I'm going to sit with my energy, and I'm going to make conscious choices as to who I share my energy with. Does that make sense? Hopefully? Yes? Nod your heads? No? All right.
Yeah, the other way that we tend to give it away is we feel empty at some level inside. Think of a little puppy. Love me, love me, love me, love me, love me. Right? And we're running around out there in our world wanting someone to acknowledge us or wanting someone to love us or whatever it is that we may be projecting outwards because we don't feel it for ourselves inside. This is about, again, bring your power back. It's not what's on the movie screen out here that makes a difference. It's what's in here. Right? Bring your power home. And I think at this point, I'm looking at our audience, and I think we might want to just move ahead and let them start asking questions.
Okay, I was going to do another visualization. And
We can do that, or you can do it later.
Either way, you decide.
Let's open to questions.
Questions about the topic?
Because I'm always better answering questions than I am trying to do this stuff.
Yes,
Crystal.
Going to your what you were saying about there are no victims.
Mm-hmm.
What about cases of rape, or how do you?
Okay.
Did you address that?
I knew that one was coming. When I say there are no victims, I'm talking at this level. Okay? And in oneness, there can be no victims because there is no other. All right? Here, in what we consider reality, and it's really only relatively real. Please hear that word, relatively real. Meaning, it appears to be, it feels to be, and it isn't. All right? So if you have a 3-year-old child, and they have been raped by whoever, okay, that child did not make a choice to be raped. Okay? That child is in essence, in this relative reality, a victim of the person who chose to do that to them. Now, as we grow, as we mature, this is where we now come back and say, so-and-so raped me when I was 3. I've been operating out of that mode till I'm 23 now, and now I'm an adult. I know that was wrong. I can reparent that child, bring my power home, and now I am no longer a victim of this person. It is just something that happened to the body I'm driving around on this planet.
So you're talking more about an identity as a victim.
Correct.
And an identity as suffering.
Yeah, if a hurricane comes, pardon my language, but shit happens. All right? But don't buy the identity of it. Don't wear it around like a badge. You look around society today, and 9 times out of 10, we're introducing ourselves by our wounds. Okay? I'm a survivor of cancer. I'm a survivor of trauma. Please lose those identities. They are not you. It is something that has happened to the body you drive around on this planet. It did not happen to you. Your ego, that part of you that is the user interface for the human experience, and please hear what I just called it, a user interface, is the part that goes, ooh, that happened to me. They did that to me. No, it happened. Your ego, by the way, is no more real than anything else here.
So, one of the things that is taught in a lot of different paths is that pain is inevitable. We have a body. Pain happens. I hurt my toe, I have a trauma, something happens. Suffering is optional. Mm-hmm. Suffering is a mindset. So, it's more about how you identify with it. It's not about the act itself. Yes, people can do terrible things to other people. You are 100% certain.
So let me tell you a little.
And it's about whether or not you make that your whole persona, or whether or not you're able to move beyond that and say, that was an awful event that happened. I would never want that to happen again. And how do I move forward from here?
Right. I was 28 years old and running a Center for Attitudinal Healing in Corpus Christi here in Texas. And at that point, there was, the city of Corpus discovered they had an active pedophile in the community. He was arrested. They got his birthday book of 100 young men whom he had molested, raped, for lack of a better term if you want. All right. Now, add to this, he was also full-blown AIDS. This is the 1980s, right? All those boys were, in essence, victims of him, if you want to look at it. But they were also victims of their own parents, because this gentleman broke, financially strapped parents in Walmart, in parking lots, etc., and offered to hire their sons to come and work for him, to wash a car, to do this, that, or the other. And the parents said, great, we don't know who you are, but sure, they can go over to your house and hang out. Okay? So, who's the victim here? Right? When we found him, I was one of the few people in the community that was tasked with going out and finding these children and bringing them in for testing, therapy, medical care, all of that. I was young. I was pissed at the guy that did this, because it was awful. He had just given 100 young boys pretty much a death sentence at that point. Not so much as it anymore, but back then it was. Right? They could never have a normal life because of what had happened to them. So I'm going through all this, and my own emotions are in a stir. And I happened to have the opportunity to go out to San Rafael, California, to be with a friend of mine, Dr. Gerald Jampolsky, who is the founder of the Attitudinal Healing Center movement. And I'm sitting there with Jerry, and he's a good guy. I was venting away about this, and he stopped me. He says, Rusty, how do you see the essence of his being as love? I can get the kids, not a problem. I could even manage to expand it to the parents, they just didn't know what they were doing. Whoa. How do I see the essence of the pedophile, rapist, murderer as love? Crap. Took me a while. And it began with now looking at what came out of this situation. I could look at the boys and be angry. I thought of all sorts of wonderful things that could be done to him. Didn't matter. But what happened, the value that could not have been, well, it could have been created other ways, but it probably wouldn't have been, was that by bringing this forward, the city of Corpus Christi created the first mayor's commission on AIDS in the state of Texas. Not Dallas, not Houston, not San Antonio, not Austin. Little bitty old backwater, into the world backwards Corpus Christi stepped forward and did this. We brought the military, the Catholic Church, the Protestant churches, the school district, the police force, everyone came forward to deal with this issue. It caused the schools to suddenly have to start talking about birth control and sex ed in the schools. This is Texas, folks. It was 1980s. We still weren't doing that. We're still trying not to do it, by the way. But the military began to address what was happening on the bases there. It just opened so many doors and so much conversation. So many people were able to come out of the closet. We also learned at that point, as the newspaper got involved and doing article after article about this. And the information got out, for one thing, that pedophilia is not the same as homosexuality. This was a pedophile who just happened to like boys, so he was homosexual. Could have been little girls, it wouldn't have mattered. Right? There began to be the education that took place. All of these things. We started the Passage, the first AIDS hospice in Corpus at that time. Again, not Houston, not Dallas, Corpus. So I shifted my view to him from being this awful being to saying, okay, the essence of his being is love. He was willing to be such a apparently horrid, awful human being to do this because that was the way that this would blossom and show. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, in essence, all those boys had to go through what they had to go through for the awareness of the goodness to come.
Yes. Now, there are those who will say they might have had a contract. I don't believe in those. I do not believe we have soul contracts. Part of that is once you hit oneness, once you hit samadhi, you really know that none of that is real. It is only in the illusion, in the state of Maya, that those things appear to exist. But yes, we all play roles in this game so that we can help ourselves and others move to the next level.
Tricia, I have a quick question for you. So you said something really interesting earlier. You said as you ascend into higher levels of consciousness, the rules of your reality change. So like in my own experience, I feel like when I was deeply unconscious, there were much less intense consequences for my actions, both when I was a child and a young adult. Once I became conscious, I feel like the consequences of not just my physical actions, words, but even my thoughts and emotions seemed like they got way higher than they were before that. So I was just wondering if you would maybe elaborate a little on how do the rules change and how do you deal with them, as it seems like the consequences of like everything going on inside of you and outside of you just continuously increases. You increase in consciousness.
That's one of the ways that they change, yes. And so when we're not awake, and awake is a very rare, we talked a little bit about this last week. Awake is a word that we all go, oh, I believe in spirits, so I'm awake. That's one level of awake, but there's more. And so as you continue to go, and that's why I use the analogy of a game. If you imagine the game as kind of a spiral and you're moving up the levels of the game, one of the things is if you know somebody who's a master of this particular game at level 100 or 1000 or wherever they are, I want to go to that master and say, give me the cheats, right? How do I cheat in the video game? How do I get to the next level and how do I move quicker?
And it's not really cheating if you know where things are hidden.
Right, and so how do I do it? How do I get there? So that's a good question, because when we first learn in our own spiritual growth, we are told that we are nothing, we're dirt, and God is great, and I'm just this little measly thing, and God is wonderful. And that's a pendulum. And as we grow, we go to some of the churches that then teach, I am it all. I create everything in my reality. I brought it all on. I caused it all. I'm this great hooba, right? And so imagine the pendulum from I'm nothing to I'm everything. And as you move through the levels, you realize it's both. The pendulum comes back, it has to swing one way or the other, and then it comes back to a nice middle. And in the middle you go, I am nothing and I am everything. I am nothing without God and I am everything because I am God. And it becomes like a balance. And as you find that balance, things move smoother. So, what you're describing to me is that you were, we'll use the word awake, but you weren't conscious of your own awareness or know anything when you were younger, as most of us. And so you just believed what your parents told you or what your friends said or whatever, and you were asleep. And then you wake up and you go to the opposite extreme, and now everything seems really like, wow, I think something and it happens. I do something and it happens. And it becomes almost, can be overwhelming at times, but that's like the extreme. So if you're way over here, you're way over one side that says, things just happen externally to me. Then over here, oh, I created all. Now I can see that dynamic. What you realize is that as you continue moving, it doesn't get worse. You don't keep going way over here. It actually comes back and you find a nice balance in the middle. And that's what the goal is so that you go, I have the ability to create over here. And I know, as he was just talking, sometimes stuff just happens. And so when something bad happens, rather than say, how did I create this bad thing? What happened? I must have created it. You realize it's a balance of the two. Stuff happens, right? Things happen. And I do have some control. It's both and rather than an either or.
But it's worse than the religion, right? To me,
Say it again?
I mean, I can see that there's structure in the religion
Yes.
where you have a God at a hierarchy, and their slaves do this, I'll give you brownie points.
Right. And that is one level of the game.
No, but this, how is it different? This looks to me much more vulgar than that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, to me.
Yeah. So when you're that religion thing, and I don't want to get too far off if we want to make sure we answer everybody, but that religion side, religion does give brownie points, and we're both in psychology, and there's a gentleman who's a psychologist, Kohlberg, who has Kohlberg levels of moral development. And he says most people don't get out of the basics. Most people don't get past brownie points.
Yeah, that's probably.
They only do things because there's an external consequence that they don't want. Okay. So they drive the speed limit because they're afraid they'll get a ticket. They don't steal because they don't want to go to jail. And all of those are good things.
They go to church because they don't want to go to hell.
They go to church because they don't want to go to hell. And those are good things, and we need that. Most people need that. And that's an external source telling you what's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. And societies are
built on
those beliefs, laws and rules, right? Religions are built on those, and they serve their purpose because most people never internalize. Most people need somebody external to say to them, if you do bad things, you're going to come back in another life. If you do something wrong, you've got bad karma now. Those are those external things that someone else has said, you have to behave or you're going to have bad karma. You have to behave or you're going to have to come back and do this life again. Those are external brownie points, like you said, or punishments.
It's a power thing. Now that we have a democratic government that is every common goodwill is endorsed, right?
Yes.
So we are
governments are that way.
So that is a way of taking that power at a political level. So in the same way, I just want to keep the way context, So it's a gross pain.
Yes.
Now a person who has gone through this, I've met these people and they never forgive, they never forget the name.
Right.
This is a fact. At least I have not seen anybody who's really, when they start talking, they start crying.
Right.
So the source, which is supposed to be dual or non-dual or whatever it is, the experience is very individual, and the pain is very individual and very painful. And there's no connection. I mean, I'm sure, I mean, I heard the word samadhi, so, I mean, I'm from India, so they talk about this nonsense all the time. Sorry to use the word, but to me, it's nonsense, because
Yes.
to me, an experience that I don't have.
Right.
Correct.
I'm not trying to be, not to be open.
No.
No, no,
but
no,
I don't
no.
like the preaching of it, because thing is, if you cannot communicate, shut up,
Right, right, right. But you are right. So what happens, so let me just finish what I was gonna say. What happens is, as we develop and as we go up the levels of.
But why?
of
Why
this-
should we develop,
Well, that's a question. You don't have to.
You don't have to, right?
You do not have to.
Yeah.
There's no way to live life wrong.
No, I
There's
don't
no way
want
to
to
do
play
it
your
wrong.
game, I just
Yeah.
don't want to play any of your games. No pendulum games, no
Then you
source
do
games.
not have to.
Yeah, I mean, the choice is death. That's one choice,
Yes.
right? That there's desire to leave.
Yep.
Between this, I suffer. I know that. Now, how do I solve this?
Right.
Now,
So,
I can. This to me is comforting. I hear it, and I'm glad. I'm not trying to.
yeah,
be.
no, I
Oh, no, no,
understand.
no, please,
No,
please.
these are great questions.
I'm just trying to. The
So-
reason I'm trying to say is, because I see a lot lost in translation.
Yes.
I mean, and
But-
a lot of people milking this.
Yes.
Yes.
And it pisses me off,
Yes.
literally.
Yes.
To make something subtle and such models. I mean, you make money selling Pepsi, it's okay. Anything is okay, But when it's subtle vulnerabilities of human beings, where we struggle, when you take money, make money or make a profit of
Mhm.
that, to me,
Mhm.
that's terrorism, worse than that.
Yeah.
I can forgive a terrorist, but I will not. I mean, if give me the governments, I will really put them in jail.
Right.
We
I can't
understand.
become a vegetarian,
This is why this is a non-profit. We're not here to make money off of any of this.
Yeah, I'm not.
So-
I mean, I
No,
hear.
I know, but I'm
I
telling
see
you,
that,
that's, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So what happens as you mature, and I will use that word rather than level up. When you're young, you have no idea that your actions affect anybody else, and you do whatever you want, or you don't because your religion tells you not to. There's an external. As you mature, maybe that's a better word than leveling up. As you grow as an individual, if you can take those ideas and make them more internalized. So then I choose to not go and steal from you, not because I might get in trouble or go to jail. It's no longer an external reason, right? Now I do it just because I want to be a nice person, and I see you as God.
There's more freedom and space.
It gives you
Yes.
more freedom.
There's more freedom.
So you
Because the
no
problem is
longer
we
are being
limited. We suffer
Right.
because we feel like we are just. The
Right.
more freedom we can have, the better quality of life.
Exactly, and
So
so
that's our
this is,
search, yeah.
this
Yes.
is exactly what I'm saying. So rather than having that external force tell you what you can and can't do, you internalize it, and it gives you a lot more open, free feeling.
Yes.
I still am going to not run into a grocery store and stick it up with a gun and ask for their money, but it's no longer because I'm worried about going to jail, it's because I want to be what I personally think is a good citizen. And it becomes internalized rather than because I know there's an external reason for it.
Yes.
And I'm gonna come back to sort of your question, and then Michael, I wanna jump in on something there too. The example, I will no longer harm someone because I may have suffered that harm at some other point. So if I know how it felt to be abandoned for something, then why would I, as a divine being, wish to give you that experience of being abandoned? And that's how it moves from an external to an internal. It's moving that locus of control, of focus internal, is really what we're talking about. Samadhi is wonderful. We'll all get there someday.
Sure.
And until we get there, we really will not understand.
You'll
it.
never understand.
All of us have said that. It doesn't matter if we're Indian or Buddhist or whatever, So that's kind of where we're going with this, but thank you.
But that journey, this helps, this internalizing, at least from your perspective, it helps you at least touch that, right? At least
Yes.
for me, for me, I struggle, so that's the reason I'm asking. So just the passion itself is not constructive, I know that, it kind of heats me up. So I also try to look for people who, I see,
Yes.
I like what Michael said, when you're more conscious, you can connect better and you feel
Yes.
relaxed.
Right.
And so, yeah.
But internalizing the journey rather than externalizing makes a big
Internalizing.
difference.
A moment. So Michael, you were talking, and what I was hearing may be wrong with your question, but what I was hearing is as you've kind of leveled up, here you could have a thought and or do something and nothing really bad happened. You didn't have instant karma, so to speak. As you go up, I'll get off the karma, but as you go up, the consequences of what you've done come like that. So it's not that they're more intense, they're more immediate.
Because you're aware?
Huh?
Because you're more aware?
Yes.
Yes, because you're
Yes,
more aware.
you're more aware.
Right.
Instead of, the consequences always came immediately, you just weren't aware enough to notice them. It's my own joke with people. You can either get the message from the universe when it taps you on the head with a feather, or you can wait till it hits you over the head with a steel rail. All right, anywhere in between there, you can get that message. When we're unconscious, we're waiting on that steel rail to hit us on the head every single time until we go, that hurts, I don't want to do that anymore. And we go, oh wait, now I get the subtler and subtler and quicker. So I can change myself and move forward.
I think.
So-
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So are you saying that your personal reality and also the collective human reality change at a faster rate the higher vibrational frequency?
The higher your vibrational frequency, the less you're concerned about collective consciousness.
Unless it affects you. You become more autonomous.
You are collective consciousness. You recognize your role within it, you recognize the other parts of it, but you're no longer subject as much, please hear, unless you're totally in oneness, you are always going to be subject at some level to collective consciousness. But the higher your vibe goes, the less it will actively affect you, the more your consequences are really about you. All right, it's like saying, if I go eat a jalapeno pepper, right, I'm going to have some immediate consequences. My mouth is going to burn. Right? I grew up on jalapeno peppers, not that much, but there's another consequence that if I'm totally oblivious to everything, and I remember I was 18 probably, and went to a bar, and there was a comedian there, and it's a bar. So he says, is there someone from New York in this bar? So this guy raises his hand. He comes up and he says, okay, well, we're in Texas now, so you have to be initiated to Texas. Here's what we call Texas rat turds, and they're 2 jalapenos about this big. He says, and you have to eat one of those, and after each one, you have to take a shot of tequila. All right? So the immediate response is after 2 jalapenos, which are really rough on your system anyway, and 2 shots, actually he did 3 shots of tequila, the man goes running to the bathroom. Right? I will promise you that tomorrow, when the seeds of that jalapeno move through, he will remember them again. This is how the consequences come. Right?
That's a visual.
But if you're at a high enough vibe, you walk in and go, are you from New York? Yes. Well, you got to be initiated. Here's a jalapeno and some tequila. No. And you make a better choice. All right, and that's what happens. You start making better choices because your consequences
Is
are
it
coming like
spontaneous
this.
or is it effort and practice involved? Is it like you see it happens, or again you have to work at it? Because
Both.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. There is a very large amount of grace involved in this journey.
Is it?
There is a large amount of grace involved in this journey. You do your practice, and actually, I think it was probably Ramana Maharshi, maybe not one, but someone of that level, who made this statement, as best as I can paraphrase it, is that doing your spiritual practices does not mean that you will attain enlightenment. Okay? Just as practicing driving does not mean you won't have an accident. Right? Your spiritual practices make you accident prone, so when grace shows up, you can attain what you want. Okay, you work, you do your roles, you do your things, but it's not up to you, it's not up to anything. It is literally grace. When it happens, it happens. It's the best way I know how to describe that.
And Lindley, you had a question or a comment, or do you remember?
Oh,
10 minutes ago.
I mean, just going from grounding points to, I mean, if you're a non-dualist, like anything you do is part of oneness, so you wouldn't want to do anything bad because
Why would I want to hurt myself?
Right.
Right. Yes, and that's really it, and that's the more internalizing of it. You no longer do it because it's right or wrong, you do it because, as Rusty said, somebody hurt me and I don't want to hurt you, so I make the choice consciously to not do whatever that was. But yeah, it becomes internalized after a while. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Stephen, did you have something, a question? Do you remember this point?
I was like, it's not very right to condemn other religions, and should we talk about that later?
We're not condemning any religion.
I didn't say you were, but I was just noticing from that some religions condemn others, and that's just, that seems antithetical to what,
Yeah, if you
or,
if you think of that as religions are created by mankind, so they're really created by the human ego, and the ego's one of the ego's primary jobs is looking around and finding other and condemning them and judging them. So this is not a condemnation of religion, it's just a statement of this is how they work. No big deal, and they all do the same basic things, just different words, different styles.
but there's some karma in that, isn't there? Some karma and consequences to if you, how if you do that. Yeah, I'll talk later.
That's a
It's a
long
good
conversation.
Yeah.
Steve.
No,
And
that,
again-
that's a political, but actually it's a very important topic.
It is.
It's a functional
It is.
problem, you know, all the wars are caused because of this.
Correct.
So, you know, we can talk about this, there are people dying right now.
Yes.
Of course.
So,
Yes.
so obviously it's not, it's a very important to me, this, because there's no relationship between two humans fundamentally, beyond the tribe, beyond
Correct.
the religion.
Correct.
So I think it's a very valid question, and of course, religions throw the baby and the bathwater, you know, so you don't throw the baby with the bathwater.
Right.
You take what's good, and
Right.
Right.
so there's a
I think
better
there's-
understanding of religion needs to
Yeah.
be there.
And there is, and I think there's a place for it as we, and that's kind of what I was saying. 99% of people, that's what they need and find, and that's where they want to be, and that's wonderful. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with people being extremely religious or staying in whichever religion they're in, and believing what their religion tells them. What this class is about moving beyond, and how do we move beyond what we were taught in whatever religion that was? How do we move beyond what we were taught in metaphysics? What
Because believe it or
else
not,
can we
metaphysics
learn?
in and of itself is a religion. We tend to not realize that, but it is. It's not a formal religion, it's not an organized religion, but it is still
But there's a
a
set of
religion. We have a
principles.
set of beliefs,
Right.
we have the way things work, you know.
Definitely it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very, very organized too, yeah.
Right, and so what we're talking about is that all of that is good. There is absolutely nothing wrong with any of that. And everybody that wants to have that, their religion, whatever that is great. And you're welcome to have that, and they're welcome to have whatever beliefs they have. And just like each of you will have different beliefs than what we have. What we're presenting is there something next? Is there something beyond that? And last week we talked about levels of consciousness. And in that we talked exactly about at this level there is the religion and the tribe, and then as you grow your vision becomes a little bit bigger. Now your tribe's a little bit bigger. It's not just your little group, now it's your country and it keeps expanding. And as you move and continue to grow as an individual on a spiritual path, your vision expands, and your tribe, if you want to call that, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So now, rather than just being my country versus your country and we're going to go to war, I realize we're both humans, and now my tribe is expanded. So I take you in and I see you're part of my tribe as a human being, or as an animal, or as a living being. And so the tribe expands until you get to the space where you realize everything is connected. The Dalai Lama talks about that. He talks about how if you look at a rock, or you look at your shirt, your shirt was made out of this particular material, it was made in these 5 different countries, we're all connected. And the more we can see that connectedness, the bigger our tribe becomes, and the less likely we're going to run and go to war over something.
But that's very rational.
Mm-hmm.
The example of it's the power of the rational mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just logical, you can see that. You don't need anything actually. No oneness, nothing. If you're a little sensible, you really know. If you've met other people, you know what you're wearing, what's keeping you warm, comes from all these places, and you'll be nice to them.
Right, right.
There's no need for anything in there, I mean,
Right.
to me, the reason I'm saying is, many times rational thinking is criticized
Right.
because of the metaphysical world, it condemns it.
You need both.
So, I'm just, you need both, right? So that's your take,
Well, the
Yes,
emotion
you-
and
You
the
have to
passion.
have the rational.
rational.
All right, because the rational will take you step 1, step 2, step 3 to get this. But at some point, there has to be a seed planted in your head, though, that my clothes were made by someone else. All right,
The compassion that goes with that.
Right.
So the emotion of the compassion that goes with the left brain knowledge, and to be able to balance the two together.
That, of course, that's not linear, that's just happens, so that,
Hopefully.
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 So that's
Hopefully
what,
that
so the more you
happens.
internalize, that will manifest in
Yes.
a sense.
Yes.
Right.
Hopefully that.
the more you focus on the interdependence and how we are connected, the more you focus on the connection, the more connected you become. And again, higher and lower are such
Yeah.
awful terms. Words
Yeah, I
are
think
so
so.
hard for all this, but it's all we have.
Yeah.
But the more connected you become,